Y'all, and I know that there's a lonely woman out there that just got her tax money back or is about to get her tax money back, and I know what all y'all be doing during tax season. It is Valentine's Day week. LSU baseball will be kicking off. No pun intended there, clearly. But we'll start their season on Friday. We got some Jay Johnson stuff we need to talk about. We have Carter Bryant that's joining us at 7:30, 7:35-ish, whatever it is. And, yes, we did start early a little bit here tonight at 6:30. Normally we're at 7. Well, we're going to talk a little bit about the Saints. I told you we'll be doing these longer-form shows. Here we are. Here we go. Saints Talk is back in the fold. We'll be back in the fold for about the first 30 minutes or so of this show. So if you're a Saints fan, I highly suggest that you come in here and listen because we got lots to talk about. I told you a while back when Dennis Allen was hired, I was going to stop talking about the Saints until I started to see or think that the organization felt like that they would go in the right direction. We're going to talk about Kellen Moore tonight. We're going to talk about potentially his DC hires, what it means. What the Saints, who I feel as if all of us want to succeed here, want to happen. So we'll talk about that. We'll go on a little bit of a rant because Jordan Schultz reported that Kellen Moore will have considerable say, quote unquote, considerable say in his coaching staff collaboration with the Saints and GM Mickey Loomis. We're going to talk about that and why I just feel like that's just BS. Really, I do. And I'm going to tell you why it 1,000% is BS. Because it is. So we are going to talk about the Saints tonight, but you know we got a lot of LSU to talk about. We'll talk about Jay Johnson. He was on with our good buddy Mike Scarborough at tigerbait.com. Some things Jay said in there that I want to pull out. Didn't put it on the topics list, but we're going to get to it at around 7 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time. I do promise you that. You know we got to talk some LSU football as well in here. There's one thing that I massively missed. Was doing some stuff today, watching some defensive red zone stuff from LSU. I massively missed this. Why Blake Baker may have been a better play caller than we even realized, but maybe the personnel did not help him out. We'll talk about that here tonight as well, where I do think signs show that you can turn some things around defensively and potentially make yourself a playoff team here. So lots and lots of things that we do have to get into here tonight. Todd Davis says, now we just need Mickey Loomis to be fired. Look, man, here's what I will say in tonight's show to start this off, Todd. If you cover LSU mainly, which is what we do here, if you cover them, I feel as if when you get involved in stuff on Twitter with Saints fans, bro, the logic behind some of the stuff that they say is idiotic. I don't understand it. This is the NFL. This isn't college football. Mike Thomas going in an outright bender on Twitter, who, by the way, nobody picked up. And I know that there's a lot of complications in a lot of this. He still got paid a crap load of money, did not have the production for that $100 million that you spent on him. But what do I know? What do I know after he got the extension? There are some things that just shouldn't happen and that you should call out. I mean, Mike Thomas went on a mini Antonio Brown rant, and we thought it was okay. Dude, there are literal Saints fans sticking up for Mickey Loomis right now. Literally. And they'll call you out. They will call you out. Oh, you don't know what you're talking about. Okay. We're about to show you what real football talk is about. Because you've been deprived of it, in my humble opinion, outside of you, unless you listen to Mike Detillier, who Mike Detillier we got to talk about tonight here as well. He had a great point on Twitter that I want to point out later tonight, too. William Hano says, fire Mickey Loomis. 100% agree. That clown cost us at least one Super Bowl, and that's the facts, bro. I mean, look, I don't think the NOLA no call is on him, right? Like, I do not think that it's on him. But yeah. Brian Turner says Kellen Moore is the top 5 offensive mind. I'm glad he's here. Hiring Brandon Staley was a genius move. So we'll obviously talk about Kellen Moore. I think it's been the biggest kept secret, really. When you saw all of Saints media following him around like a puppy dog, which is rightfully they should have. But, I mean, it was a big unkept secret. We're going to talk about both coordinator hires that have been mentioned out there. This is going to be opinion-based stuff when we talk about the Saints. This is not going to be sourcing. I'm not getting in that world with them because they act like prima donnas. Go Mahal 23 says, not crazy about Brandon Staley, but it was what it was. Well, it's not, I guess, completely finished yet. But the last time Brandon Staley was a defensive coordinator, he had the number 1 defense in all of the NFL. It's a rebuilding system offensively and defensively. All around, it's a rebuild here. Got to get some stuff. I think you got to figure some things out with the cap. You got some dead money that you're going to eat. What do you do with Derek Carr? Which we might not get too much about Derek Carr here tonight. So it is what it is. All right, let's get moving. Yes, we are a little bit early. Yes, when we have time, we're going to do stuff like this. We're going to talk a little bit about the Saints more. I think I like the Kellen Moore hire. That's why we'll talk about it a little bit more here. Staley was the DC with the number 1 defense in 2020. Yeah, the Rams. We're going to talk about that. Derek says, never seen a dude live off a Super Bowl over 10 years ago. You could say the same thing about Sean Payton. You could say the same thing about Drew Brees. It doesn't make it any different for Mickey Loomis. Sean had a lot of say-so when it came to what happened in the day-to-day stuff and who they drafted. So not all on Mickey there too. But it seems as if that Sean went elsewhere and is having success clearly with the Broncos. All right, let's get rolling here. Everybody do us a favor by hitting the like and share. Share to all those groups if you're on Facebook and to all of those social media pages. You're watching us, listening to us on YouTube. Like, subscribe, notification bell, wherever you listen to podcasts. Rate, review, and subscribe. Before we get rolling, we need to talk about our good friends over at Underdog Fantasy. That's underdogfantasy.com. Use that promo code AYS for your chance to win up to $1,000. College basketball, NBA, all in action right now. You want to get your picks in. You get a free pick when you use that promo code AYS. But you need to go over and do that with Underdog Fantasy, underdogfantasy.com. So when we come back, this is what I should say. Underdog Fantasy, fantastic. I've been on the website multiple times. I think fantasy's not my thing necessarily. I know a lot of you do it. You need to go over to Underdog Fantasy. We're going to get to a quick break. When we come back, Saints stuff we got to discuss, new head coach, coordinators. Then for the entire next hour, or we'll be here an hour and 30 minutes, but the entire hour we're going to be spending talking on LSU. So stay with us. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way for you to wager on all of your favorite sports, contests, events with the first-to-market odds and lines. Find reviews for all the news for each league, including Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, college sports, esports, and even golf. BetOnline continues to be the top online resource for all of your sports information for live in-game betting, props, and futures. Head on over to BetOnline today and use your mobile device to join and make your first sports bet. Use our promo code BELIEVE50, that's BELIEVE50, BLEAV 50, to receive your 50% off welcome bonus on your first deposit. That's betonline.ag, betonline.ag.
He will sell your house and find you a new. Well, Tyler's the man, he's here for you. If you want to buy or sell, well, it's not too late. Dial 955-0008. Just call 955-0008. Y'all call Tyler, he'll shoot you straight.
Louisiana is unique. The food, the festivals, even the bugs. No, not mud bugs. Unwanted bugs like these. The ones you don't want crawling in your home or business. Trust the Shield from J&J Exterminating. We've been protecting Louisiana homes for over 50 years, earning the trust of our clients because we deliver what we promise. Protect your home from pests. Get the Shield from J&J Exterminating.
J&J Exterminating.
J&J has protected Louisiana homes and businesses for over 60 years.
Call him today, make the pests go away. J&J Exterminating. Yeah.
Okay. Let's get moving here. So the Saints made a big move today. Clearly, the biggest secret that had not been kept is that Kellen Moore was probably going to be the next head coach of the New Orleans Saints. Has been talked about here locally. It's been talked about nationally for quite some time. Obviously, the move needed to be made after the Super Bowl. It was. Kellen Moore is the next head coach, 29th head coach of the New Orleans Saints, part of the Saints. I didn't check that, but part of the Saints at 29th head coach in Saints history. So let's talk about it. Kellen Moore being the new man, a guy that's been in football for over of a decade. Whether it be at Boise, where he led a pretty prolific offense as a left-handed quarterback, or being a coordinator in the NFL, being in Dallas, being with the Chargers in L.A., and now at Philly, where he won a Super Bowl with Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley, and now finally getting his opportunity and chance to be a head coach in the league. There's only 32 of these spots. He gets one in New Orleans, where ironically he just won the Super Bowl. There are a couple things that I think that we need to take the path on when we talk about Kellen Moore being hired. There's a couple of paths that I think that we need to lean on here. Number one, he's a first-time head coach, and he's a first-time head coach in the NFL. So there are going to be mistakes during the first season that I'm sure Kellen Moore is going to make that he's going to wish that he had back. There's a lot of rebuild that has to happen in New Orleans, whether like it, love it, or hate it, or whatever any Saint fan believes out there. As much as you want to continue to believe that you have some good pieces, you don't. You do have good pieces in certain areas, but you have an aging quarterback, an aging running back, an aging linebacker, an aging safety. Your superstars are well into and getting up close to their mid-30s if they're not there outside of AK. But I look at this team and say it's not just the coaching staff that you needed to go out and rebuild here after firing Dennis Allen after a very tumultuous career as a head coach in the NFL. You're going to have to rebuild this team. So when you hire in Kellen Moore, unless you're just going 0-17 every year and you're not winning games and everything's in turmoil, you're going to have to give him a lot of grace. The rope and the leash that you give him is a lot longer, that's what she said, but a lot longer than it was for a guy like Dennis Allen. Now, I don't think that Dennis Allen was completely in the blame of what's happened the last couple of years with the Saints, but he's a big part of bringing in Derek Carr. And so you're bringing in now, after you fired Dennis Allen, you're bringing in a guy that's called plays everywhere he's gone, an offensive-minded guy, a quarterback, a guy that played at a high level and in the NFL and was a really good college quarterback. Now he's going to be what the head of your team is going to look like. I saw some comparisons today. Well, the last time you hired a coordinator that was really prolific and a top 5 guy was Sean Payton. That is true. Sean also had Drew. And when he didn't have Drew, shortly after that, he said bye-bye. He didn't want to be here. He wanted to retire. Sure, yeah, he wanted to retire. That's exactly what it was. Then after a year, he goes to Denver, and then he drafts his own quarterback to make him in his image. Retire, though, right? Yeah, I don't buy that at all. But the biggest thing in this Kellen Moore thing here is very simple to me. I don't know what he's going to be like as a head coach. If you told me a year from now, if you told me 2 years from now, 3 years from now, either it works or either it's going to work and you're going to get to the playoffs and you're going to be a contender and things work well, I don't think it would really shock me because Kellen Moore has a brilliant mind and will take tons of people to be around him that he trusts, and he will listen to them and really try to build a football team. Or if you tell me, hey, man, this thing with Kellen Moore, he wasn't ready for it, first-time head coach, couldn't get a quarterback, they fell flat, and it was what it was. I could completely see it. I could completely see either thing. My opinion of that, though, is that I do like this hire. I do like bringing an offensive-minded guy in when you got to go through a rebuild. Most of the times when you go through a rebuild, again, whether the Saints want to admit that or not, when you do go through a rebuild, there's one position that you got to go get. It's the number one position in all of sports that you have to go get. Want to guess what it is? Burr, burr, burr. I know that you guessed it. It's like Blue's Clues. Burr, burr, burr. You got to go get a quarterback. Derek Carr is not your future. He never was going to be your future. I thought that things could be moderate around him. I even think in some of the things that he did with the Raiders, I think he's decreasing every single year that we see him, even from the Raiders. That's how I felt about him. There were some good moments, a lot of bad moments in that as well. But the one thing that Kellen Moore is going to have for this to be successful, and I mentioned Mike Detillier earlier from WWL, he hit the nail on the head here. It's not just the coaching staff that you had to hit a home run. You got to go start doing free agency well. You got to go out and start drafting well, which you have not done. And then you have the cap issues, which that is what it is. The perfect scenario would be if you wanted to get your cap issues straight, that you would do it now, that you would draft a good class, that you would tell Kellen, listen, man, this is a full-blown rebuild here of what we're trying to accomplish. Do it now. I don't know the direction of the Saints, nor am I going to act like I know or feel the direction of the Saints. But you're going to have to give him a long leash for this one to work. You're going to have to get him and let him draft his own quarterback. Now, you can Band-Aid it for a season if there's nobody good enough that you want. But you're going to have to trade up in some of these scenarios to go get a guy. At least that's what I would do. Because when you have a transcendent quarterback, and I don't know if this year's class has one. Clearly, if you're asking me my opinion, I don't think that they have a Jaden Daniels in this class. Actually, I feel pretty strongly that they don't. Or even a Bo Nix. I don't. Maybe that guy can be Cam Ward, even though he's turnover prone. You have to go get a quarterback. You know, I think of Jaden Daniels, who we just talked about. Guys, he doesn't have the talent around him that they should have been in the NFC conference championship game. He had he had a tomato can, Terry, the receiver, and he had Brian Robinson. I mean, okay, I guess. Austin Eckler, maybe some okay pieces. He doesn't have a bona fide run game or offensive line. He doesn't have the dudes around him, an aging Zach Ertz, whatever. But you can be a moderately damn good and strong football team with great quarterback play. Derek Carr is not your future. So when you bring in Kellen Moore, an offensive-minded guy, the first question, if I'm Kellen Moore, is who's my quarterback going to be? And quite frankly, can I pick him? Now, there is a quarterback that I do think is in this draft, and it's neither here nor there to talk about it, that could not be as great, maybe, but could replicate some of the things that Jalen Hurts did at Philly, and even maybe some Dak Prescott. I would take that over Derek Carr, if I'm just being honest. I would take Jalen Hurts' play over Derek Carr, clearly. But I do like the hire of Kellen Moore. I don't know the vision. And they're going to talk, and they're going to have a press conference on Thursday that we'll be listening to. But, man, I will say this. There is one thing, as we're live and we're seeing this, 9 minutes ago, the New Orleans Saints, Kellen Moore has arrived in New Orleans with his wife and children. I like the hire. I think you've got to take a little bit of a risk, if I'm being honest. You got to go through a rebuild with somebody like this. I think Kellen Moore is as innovative a play caller as you're going to find. You know, the first play in the NFC Championship game, the crack toss the crack toss that he ran with Saquon Barkley. I mean, he completely took half of the defense out, and it was a crack on Bobby Wagner that Saquon Barkley was able to hit a wide open hole and score a touchdown on the first play. Some would argue that some of Dak Prescott's, if not Dak Prescott's best years, came under Kellen Moore. Now, some would argue that as well, but, well, you saw what happened after Kellen Moore left the Dallas Cowboys, even though a lot of people painted him in a wrong light. Brandon Staley, going to be the DC. I like that too. I like some of the staff that he's going to bring in. But it wouldn't be remiss for me, or I got to say this, and I know this is going to get me popped here from Saints fans, at least some Saints fans. I think that it's not a bad idea you bringing in Kellen Moore in the rebuild. I think offensively, you're going to get just better overall play calling. You got to go get the dudes, but I think you get better overall play calling from day one. But it was reported today by Jordan Schultz, who has always been very freaking accurate in everything that he says. There's not a time where, oh, man, Jordan Schultz, I mean, that dude's wrong. No, Jordan Schultz is pretty damn strong. And Mickey Loomis saying that there's going to be considerable say in who Kellen Moore wants in his staff. What, are you not going to approve somebody that he wants on his staff? The worry that I do have in this Kellen Moore incident is, or this hiring, I should say, not incident, but this Kellen Moore hire. Are you bringing him in because you don't feel like he's going to tell you, hey, man, we ain't doing that? I don't know if Kellen Moore is an alpha dog. I don't. When I see him, he looks like a strategist. He doesn't look, I mean, like, I see a tactician. I don't see like a pit bull. It's not the coaching style that he has. But if this is going to work, you cannot micromanage his ass. If he thinks if a dude can play, you need to go get him. And you say, well, we got to make sure that we get this draft right. You've been missing on draft after draft without Kellen Moore. Don't tell the man what he needs. Go get and do what he needs. Well, I mean, I guess we can go in free agency. Well, what you going to do with the cap? Saints fans and Saints media and Saints people keep telling me and acting like kicking the can down the road in this salary cap, it's just not a big deal. You're having to pull miracles, biblical, to get out of the salary, to get right with the salary cap. There's probably money that you should be able to spend right now in this situation that you can't. What do you do with Derek Carr? Do you trade him? Do you cut him? Is there, I mean, what is the cap hit? I think, what, $50 million cap hit, right? So that's really good. Look, man, I don't know, but I think it's interesting. I think it's interesting that Mickey Loomis and some do not see the things that have happened at post Drew Brees, post Sean Payton. You thought that hiring from within would work. Sometimes that does work if you have this special human being. It didn't. Maybe you should look at yourself in the mirror besides smacking on some gum. So, Kellen Moore, the 29th head coach of the Saints. I like it. I do think that he needs a really good staff around him, an experienced staff. I think an experienced staff is what he's going to get. So it's reported today that Brandon Staley is going to be a big part of this DC search in the first real big hire of bringing in coordinators. Listen, clearly Kellen Moore has been making phone calls, knowing that he was going to take this job, and the Saints as well. The last time that we saw Brandon Staley, who was a former head coach of the LA Chargers, was when he was the DC at the Rams. Now, last year, he was an assistant head coach for the San Francisco 49ers. I don't know the role that he played. I probably should have looked that up with the Niners. But there is a difference, and we know this. With seeing a guy like Dennis Allen, there's a difference in being a play caller and being a coordinator than it is a head coach. Clearly. Dennis Allen was not a bad defensive coordinator. He wasn't. He told Mickey what he needed. They accomplished what he needed, and they were really good when they needed it. So I look at Brandon Staley and say, well, look, man, he's been accomplished. Only one true year of being a DC. But every time that in every place he's gone defensively, they've done some really good things. So I think Brandon Staley coming in here, some people don't like it because of him going, 24-24 as a head coach. Yeah, that's better than Dennis Allen did, though. And that surely did work. Brandon Staley had some dogs on his defense, though, when he was with the Rams. We all remember him. Guy named Aaron Donald was pretty special. Very special. But Brandon Staley had the number one defense, number one in points, number one in scoring defense in 2020, the last time he was a coordinator. Number one in yards, number one in fewest allowed touchdowns. I think Brandon Staley is going to be okay as your DC. I like the hire. I like the connection with the hire too. I like the connection of Kellen Moore clearly having history and knowing Staley. I like that even better. I like the fact that there's enough trust there because Kellen Moore is going to rely on Brandon Staley to basically Sean Payton and Dennis Allen this thing. Hey, man, I need you to run the defense. I would assume that Kellen Moore is going to call plays here. So would like that as a hire if they did it. The other one, before we move on here and get moving, I want to mention this too. There's been a lot of talk about Doug Nussmeier being the offensive coordinator of the Saints. Yes, that Doug Nussmeier. Garrett Nussmeier, who we talk about a lot on this show, his dad being the offensive coordinator. Today when I was planning and writing the notes down on this, I was thinking to myself, like, hey man, those two guys have been together a long time. Just how long have they been together? So think about this. For all you LSU fans that are in here or in our show every night, think about this. Garrett Nussmeier has been at LSU, 5 years? This will be his 5th year. Kellen Moore and Doug Nussmeier have been together on a coaching staff together and offensive meetings together since Garrett Nussmeier was a sophomore or a freshman. If my math works correctly, I don't know. I know that Garrett graduated in 21, so 20 would have been his senior year. Then 2020 would have been his junior year, 19 his sophomore year. No, so since he was a freshman, maybe I was wrong on that. Freshman, sophomore, you get my gist. They've been together. Hiring Doug Nussmeier, I don't think Doug comes in here and calls plays. I don't. I think Kellen Moore is going to call plays here. That's my feel of it. If he doesn't call plays, he's going to be massively involved. I don't think he's going to give that up. Nor do I think he's going to ask Doug to do it. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. It's how it feels. Listen, man, I feel this is like Sean Payton and Pete Carmichael in a way. I'm not saying Doug Nussmeier is Pete Carmichael, but man, this connection runs deep. Very deep. Doug has been a quarterback's coach. He's been a tight ends coach. He knows the game. He's been in college. He's been in pros. He's been around some really good quarterbacks. Guys, he was a big part of clearly what Kellen Moore thought of in Philadelphia. Now, Kellen Moore has been at 3 stops in 3 years. 3 different stops. Dallas, L.A., and Philadelphia this past year. Doug Nussmeier's been along with him that entire ride. They've gone together. From an offensive staff, with that level of production, as what we just saw the Eagles have, I like it. So offensively, I think that you would be in good hands. I don't know how the entire staff looks. I don't know where they'll do at other positions, but I feel like that they are going to start having a plan here. So you got a lot of experience around you. DC, OC, yes, you're a first-time head coach, but you do have play calling experience in this league. We'll see what happens. But if it is Brandon Staley, Doug Nussmeier, and we do know that Kellen Moore will be your next head coach, I think you did moderately well. The problem is going to be, and this is going to more than Kellen Moore, what you do during the offseason and getting players on your team is going to be the bigger question. I don't think that you can look at the Saints right now and say it's all on coaching, because it's not. At least I do not believe that it is. To end this, because I know we went a little over, but to end this, here's what I'd say to Saints fans. We're back. But secondly, I just don't think that you have the talent. I don't think you have the dudes. I'm going to be real with you. As much as I love Alvin Kamara, I don't know how much I love that extension, if I'm being frank. I think you've made some emotional decisions because you didn't want to cut anybody loose and you knew it would win over the fan base. And quite frankly, it's going to bite you in the ass. You've drafted a lot along your offensive line. I don't know what you do there. Trevor Penning got better. Foryou wasn't bad. I don't know what you do in the interior. You've been beat the hell up at wide receiver and really at running back. You need a number one receiver. I don't know if Chris Olave is going to be healthy enough to do it. I really don't. You need a quarterback. You probably do need more offensive linemen. You need a tight end. What are you going to do with Taysom? Now that I'm thinking about it, it's going to be interesting to see. I know Taysom's getting up there in age. It's going to be interesting to see what Kellen Moore does with Taysom Hill. That's going to be creative now. Defensively, you need everything. And I don't care what anybody tells me. You need everything. There's some things you can get away with, like linebacker potentially, safety, but Matthew's getting older, man. You need corners. I think you need another defensive tackle or two. Need some edge guys. Cam's getting up there. You need everything. So it is what it is. All right. William says, scenario, Daddy Nuss gets Son Nuss to play, but if you don't get that guy at an O-line, look, man, I mean, it's kind of how things work out. I mean, I'm sure the Nussmeier family, for what it's worth, I'm sure that they feel fantastic and are happy that, I mean, Doug can be closer. I mean, why wouldn't you? Right? Like, why wouldn't you? I mean, Garrett was at the Super Bowl on Sunday. And of course he was. That's his dad, man. Good on Garrett. And quite frankly, I'm so glad that the game was in New Orleans and that Garrett was there to see it. I hope he took teammates with him. If I'm Garrett, I'm saying, Dad, listen. I need to bring one of my receivers. I need to bring an offensive lineman. The guy that I believe, I hope that happened. I have no clue. I'm just saying. I hope it happened. But hell yeah, it's going to be good for Garrett. What are we talking about here? I love this for Garrett more than Doug. I love this for Garrett. I love it for Garrett. Because, I mean, look, man, maybe it's just me. I love my children. More than anything on this earth, I love my children. More than anything. If I get to be closer to them, I'm going to do it. I want to be that parent that if my kids move off, I'm going with them. If one is in Texas and one's in Alabama, I guess my house would still be in the dead center of them. I'm literally going to be in between both of them. I hope they all both stay in Louisiana and have really great jobs and grow up here and whatever. But I hope they do whatever they want. I'm going to be that parent that travels to them. I'm not going to sit still. Can't do it, man. Won't do it. This is great for the Nussmeier family. All right. Let me get to a quick break. When we come back, we got some LSU football stuff we got to discuss. How did I miss this? How did I miss this from LSU defensively in 2024? We didn't talk about it enough. Let me get to this break. When we come back, LSU, Carter Bryant joins us in about 25 minutes or so. Stay with us. Guys, I want to talk to you about our good friends over the Drake Williams Law Firm and Drake Title Company. Are you facing tough times due to an injury from a car accident, navigating the complexities of divorce, or purchasing a new home? At the Drake Williams Law Firm and Drake Title Company, they understand the challenges you're going through, and they are here to help. The lawyer team of Ernie Drake III, Ryan J. Williams, and Summer Vignair, along with Morgan Daniels, have the experience and proven track record to give you that peace of mind. Give them a call today at 985-386-7600. That's 985-386-7600 to schedule a free consultation at their brand new office located in historic downtown Ponchatoula. They're also doing a special, the AYS special. If you're refinancing or closing on a home in Southeast Louisiana, request the Drake Title Company to handle your closing. If you mention Blake Ruffino and AYS, you're going to receive a $400 discount on title fees. Again, give them a call at 985-386-7600. Let them know that Blake Ruffino's. Guys, you might know my good friend Carol Foss and all the great service that he provides over at State Farm. He is your good neighbor after all. But did you know State Farm has surprisingly great rates as well? Along with the great neighbor service, State Farm agent Carol Foss has surprisingly great rates for everyone inside the state of Louisiana. So call him today at 985-395-4300, 985-395-4300 for all of those surprisingly great rates on auto, home, and life insurance needs. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there, and individual premiums will vary by customer. All applicants subject to the State Farm underwriting requirement. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way for you to wager on all of your favorite sports, contests, events with the first-to-market odds and lines. Find reviews for all the news for each league, including Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, college sports, esports, and even golf. BetOnline continues to be the top online resource for all of your sports information for live in-game betting, props, and futures. Head on over to BetOnline today and use your mobile device to join and make your first sports bet. Use our promo code BELIEVE50, that's BELIEVE50, BLEAV 50, to receive your 50% off welcome bonus on your first deposit. That's betonline.ag, betonline.ag.
J&J has protected Louisiana homes and businesses for over 60 years.
Call him today, make the pests go away. J&J Exterminating. Yeah.
All right, so listen. I see some of you are taking the draft. What the Saints would do in the draft. Last Saints thing of the show, I promise you. If the Saints draft Jalen Milroe, I'm going to throw up. I'm going to throw up. I've seen all of you take Jalen Milroe in the second round of your NFL simulator. There is no way in damn hell that we're taking Jalen Milroe in the second round. I will scream for Mickey Loomis to be cut. I know the thought process. Well, look at Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts went to Oklahoma after being in Alabama and became a completely better passer under Lincoln Riley than anything Jalen Milroe has shown you. Bullshit that they're the same. Bullshit that they're the same. Now, there is some interesting guys that you could potentially go get in that first round and mid-second round picks that I think that you could steal the draft. You have an opportunity here to start a rebuild that could be special. I am just saying, with the picks you have and some of the defensive talent, man, we shall see. There's something I drastically missed in this 2024 LSU football team that I wish that I hadn't. I beat myself up over this, but it is what it is. LSU was 19th in the country last year on defense in the red zone. I think that there's something that can be said in football that at least I think that I believe in saying this. Clearly I do. I think that you can see how good of a play caller someone is based off of what they do in the red zone. How do they defend in the shortest part of the field when it's the most critical? LSU was 19th. Drastically better than what they were last year at 109th. Drastically better. I do still wonder if the defensive issues from a year ago had simply to do with that LSU quite simply could not be disciplined in between the 20s. They couldn't. Now, it doesn't stop that against A&M and against some of these other teams that you weren't bad. You were pretty bad. Even against Alabama, you were pretty bad, where the 19th comes in. But against everybody else, you were pretty dominant when teams got in the red zone. You know, it's how you wind up beating Ole Miss and technically upsetting them. It's due to the simple fact, when they got in the red zone multiple times, you created you created a turnover on downs. Then you held them to field goals. It's what ultimately, in a high-pressure situation, won you the game. But the question I had was simple in that. How can you be in the top 20s in the red zone, but so bad in so many different areas? Now, you bring in 4 defensive linemen from the portal. You bring in a couple of DBs from the portal. Or you bring in 3 DBs from the portal. A safety into Marcus Coley. A corner in Jaheim Johnson. And then you bring in Mansour Delane, who a lot of people think could be in one of the top echelon of DBs in college football this upcoming season. Is it a lack of talent? I still think that you have a panic at safety. I do. I don't think that you're ready there at all. But one thing is for sure. Well, this is what you remedied and what you thought that you could do to fix the situation and be better defensively than you were a year ago. We always talk about defensively, one thing that under Brian Kelly you have not been good in, and it didn't change here. It was third down. Some of that I'm not going to put on Blake Baker. Some of this was the talent that he inherited, and I don't think that it worked. I look at what you did in run defense. You got a lot better statistically. Yes, that is true. You still got better statistically in the running game. So that wasn't good enough. And then, well, against Baylor, you completely PP down your leg. And you were 76 in the country in pass defense. Why such a drastic leap in sacks? Why such a drastic leap in the red zone? Not trying to call out anybody that was on this roster this past year, but to the guys that are still on this roster and to the guys that have moved on into better things for themselves personally and professionally. It is of my opinion that you weren't good enough. The good thing about that is that I still felt like we saw progression. Now, there are a lot of new faces. There are a lot of questions that have to be answered here. There's a question of Blake Baker. Can you defend a quarterback running the football? Can you get off the field on third down? Can defensively in a secondary that you're starting to make more in your image, because let's call it what it is. I would assume when you go and get a DB from Florida that Corey Raymond recruited, DJ Pickett, who you recruited and is a 5-star, and Mansour Delane, quite honestly, I feel that that's who you're probably going to try to roll with at some point during this season. I don't know what you do at safety, and that's a whole different topic for another day because we're not going down that rabbit hole again. But you brought in guys that you thought that you could mold in your image. And you allowed it. Whether you did or didn't, whether you think that Austin Thomas brought in some guys that maybe you wouldn't have taken, doesn't matter. What matters here is that you have to be better. Going back to my original thought, you can find out if a guy is a good play caller by what they do in the red zone. I think a lot of your complaints this past season has been simple. It has mainly been that it wasn't Blake Baker necessarily. It was Joe Sloan. Why was it Joe Sloan? Does it not have to be what and how bad you were in the red zone? Because you were pretty bad. Guys, listen. I think we have a massive experiment on our hands. We're finally going to get the answer to the age-old question from the past 2 years. Was it the talent that was on the field or was it the coordinators? Was it the play calling defensively? You know, Kirk Herbstreit, when he was on the call for LSU versus Bama, he said something at the end. It pissed some LSU fans off, but it was the truth. The truth was simple. The truth was that he said that you need to go out in recruiting and you need to go get guys. You need to go get guys that when you put them on defense resemble what you would see in the past at LSU defensively. He's not wrong. He just simply is not wrong. Do I think that some situations that Blake Baker's got to be better in? Yeah. The amoeba look or whatever he wants to call it with a stacked eye and how he rushes past. No, don't do that no more. But you have potential at edge. You have potential in your interior defensive line. I'm much higher on this defensive line than I was a year ago. I didn't know that Bryant Swinson would have as good of a year as he did. But I do think that you could get some replication out of that from a guy like Patrick Payton. Now, Patrick Payton is a guy, when I look at him, and I look at the season that he's coming off of, and people will point out the 4 sacks that he had, but they won't talk about the season before when he had better talent around him, because Patrick Payton wasn't the reason that Florida State went 2-10. And to any Florida State fan that will say that, you're a blithering idiot. He didn't hustle in every play. Nobody hustled. Nobody hustled on a team that went 2-10. You're trying to mask a situation of where a guy in Mike Norvell was shitty. Well, you're just thinking that because we beat you twice. No, it's the truth. LSU ain't ever gone 2-10. You did, because you sucked. That is the truth. In 40 games, he's got 110 tackles. He's got 32 tackles for loss. You know that Patrick Payton hasn't been in a game in the last 2 seasons where he hasn't gotten a tackle for loss once in the game. Most of those being, by the way, running down a quarterback from the edge. You didn't have that last year. Bryant Swinson was not bad, but you did not have a Patrick Payton a year ago. You did not. I like what Swinson did in the pass rush game. I did not like all the times of what he did in the run game at all. I really didn't. The production is there. I think Blake Baker is a good play caller. I would roll into this season expecting some things to be different. I still expect a guy that is going to be very aggressive. I wonder how much more aggressive he can be now based on the different personnel that you have in here. I don't think that he felt like he had the personnel. Quite frankly, he doesn't have to feel that or say that to anybody in the country. You can look and turn on the film and see that that is just and true. Because it is. The red zone defensively will show you how good he can be. You got to get back to what you were. No, I am not asking for you to be a defense that is, how do I want to say this? I am not asking you to be a defense that is in the top 10s. I think that's too unrealistic. I don't know if you can get there. I don't think that you can get there next season. But one thing I do feel for you defensively is, listen, man, you can't be 84th on third down. You can't be 76th in passing yards allowed. You can't be where are we at? Oh, 51st in run defense. Sorry. You gave up 140 rushing yards a game. You gave up 224 yards in the air per game. It's not good enough. It's not. You got to be better in one of those areas to be better. And then when your offense is turning the ball over that much, I don't know how fair of action that we should have gotten from this defense a year ago. So you were 51st in the country in total defense, but man, you had some bad areas. All right, it looks like Carter Bryant has joined us a little bit early. I want to get to this before we get to Carter because we got a lot of stuff we need to talk about with Carter. Very quickly, baseball starts on Friday. Jay Johnson was with Mike Scarborough and on a show this week. There was something interesting that Jay Johnson said that he said it. This is like the third time that he said it now that I want to address. Jay said in both of his press conferences to some extent, and then he said it on with Mike today or whenever they did the interview, that he feels that this year's team is built more in the mold of how he wants to play baseball than ever before. The last year and then the year before that, it's like, look, man, I felt that way in 23, but it's a little different because you didn't want to steal because you just hit bombs and you had a guy who had 14 home runs sitting on the bench, and there were times where another double-digit guy in home runs was sitting on the bench and Hayden Travinsky. This team is built more in my image and how I would want it to be. Okay. That's a coach that's telling you that he's more comfortable in this team right now in the preseason than he's been than year one and then in year three. It's going to be he's mentioned it multiple times. The new faces and all the new faces I get are scaring a lot of people because of the fact that it's of the unknown. I think I trust in Jay and what he's been saying. I think this team could be really good. Okay. Let's do this. Let's get to our good man and our good friend Carter, the Power Bryant. Let me get to a quick break. When we return, the Power joins us next. Stay with us.
Louisiana is unique. The food, the festivals, even the bugs. No, not mud bugs. Unwanted bugs like these. The ones you don't want crawling in your home or business. Trust the Shield from J&J Exterminating. We've been protecting Louisiana homes for over 50 years, earning the trust of our clients because we deliver what we promise. Protect your home from pests. Get the Shield from J&J Exterminating.
J&J Exterminating. Yeah.
Guys, I want to talk to you about our good friends over the Drake Williams Law Firm and Drake Title Company. Are you facing tough times due to an injury from a car accident, navigating the complexities of divorce, or purchasing a new home? At the Drake Williams Law Firm and Drake Title Company, they understand the challenges you're going through, and they are here to help. The lawyer team of Ernie Drake III, Ryan J. Williams, and Summer Vignair, along with Morgan Daniels, have the experience and proven track record to give you that peace of mind. Give them a call today at 985-386-7600. That's 985-386-7600 to schedule a free consultation at their brand new office located in historic downtown Ponchatoula. They're also doing a special, the AYS special. If you're refinancing or closing on a home in Southeast Louisiana, request the Drake Title Company to handle your closing. If you mention Blake Ruffino and AYS, you're going to receive a $400 discount on title fees. Again, give them a call at 985-386-7600. Let them know that Blake Ruffino sent you on. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way for you to wager on all of your favorite sports, contests, events, with the first-to-market odds and lines. Find reviews for all the news for each league, including Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, college sports, esports, and even golf. BetOnline continues to be the top online resource for all of your sports information for live in-game betting, props, and futures. Head on over to BetOnline today and use your mobile device to join and make your first sports bet. Use our promo code BELIEVE50, that's BELIEVE50, BLEAV 50, to receive your 50% off welcome bonus on your first deposit. That's betonline.ag, betonline.ag. We're back. Carter, the power of Bryant. Good evening, good sir. How are you?
So good to meet Megan last week. So good to reconnect with you last week in your humble abode. And my first question for you is, LSU a top 5 program in the SEC?
Yes.
Yes. I don't think it's a question. But
are you reacting to Josh Pate's
Yeah.
question? Okay.
That's what I'm talking about today. So the only two that are clearly ahead are Alabama and Georgia. I would put LSU 3, but I'm okay
based off of the potential of what LSU can do when right. Yes.
Right. But going into next year, I don't know if they're a top 5 SEC team.
Okay, well, let's get right to it, because that was a question that I was going to ask you here.
Go.
I have seen from a national perspective, we got to get to this. I see On3 pushing it, and I'm not going to mince words. I see 247 pushing it. A lot of them are saying that they feel like that they're going to be a playoff team. Like, trust the gunslinger. They're guys, they're going to make the playoffs. Carter, I'm not trying to be rude to some of these people. I know it's the offseason. You better calm your ass down. I want them to be in the playoff more than anybody. Us in the business want them to be in the playoff more than anybody. Let me ask anybody from the national media. Who's starting at DB?
Right. No, I'm with you. Yeah. I mean,
who's starting in the interior of your defensive line?
I'm with you. I'm at 1,000%.
Who's left guard and right tackle going to be?
That, offensive line way better than me. That's
are
why.
You going to be better than 107th in the on the season in rushing? You had 116.4 rush yards per game. You were 107.
Yeah, and this isn't hating. It's just these are facts. Yeah, it's not.
You can't dispute. I know you're trying to get clicks. I get it. But people say that I'm clickbaity. Bullshit, I'm clickbaity. That's clickbaity.
Yeah.
We're talking about the truth here. I'm going to let you go. So go. No. You're seeing this. What do you think?
Yeah, and there's a lot of teams on the schedule next year that do not match up well against LSU in terms of quarterbacks who can run. There are some freaking blazers there. And Blake, it was never proven really at all that LSU could stop that, especially in like a regular game setting. And, I don't think Lenore Sellers and DJ Lagway are ridiculous, but they are unbelievably talented. And you played a DJ Lagway last year that couldn't run. He had a bad hamstring. I freaking love DJ Lagway. I sat down and watched him very closely. I wondered what the heck happened in those final 2 games. And it was still good. Like, even though his QBRs were way down. So, yeah, I mean, I'm still very bullish on the long-term future of LSU. I'm with you. I still think this team can make the playoff. This team, I feel, will be a better team than what it was last year. But, man, Clemson's going to be good. And the thing is, this is probably Clemson's best wide receiver room since the T. Higgins room in 2019. So that's tough because Clemson's had some issues putting skill guys on the outside. Wesco and those guys are going to be good. So it's tough.
Listen, again, I want them to make the playoff.
Yeah.
And look, I get labeled negative. I come in here and don't push sunshine and rainbows and get labeled negative. I'm not going to push sunshine and rainbows for you. Brother, you were 8-4 last year, and you got questions that you got answered. Or you got to answer.
Yeah. And
I mean, Carter, under Brian Kelly, you've never been better than 75th in third down defense, ever.
Yeah, and Blake, this was something I broke down on Patreon, and everyone could go check it out on Patreon. I'm going to talk about it on my show tonight. But to me, the biggest story in college football that is not discussed, outside of the obvious ones, which is NIL, transfer portal, all of that, expanded playoff, the future of the sport. One drastic change is the amount of possessions played per game has gone down. So it's not just the amount of plays, it's the amount of possessions. Now, why is that the case? Well, some of it is
the running clock.
But a lot of it is just fourth down aggression. And the quarterbacks are better. There's just better quarterbacks now than what it used to be, especially in the SEC and the portal. Almost every team you're going to play is going to have good quarterback play. So LSU, look, the prime of LSU has been turnovers, right? Having a defense that just terrorizes you. The best LSU teams pre-Joe Burrow were turnover merchants. And guys just don't turn the rock over as much. The quarterbacks are better. The OCs are better. So what that means is if your possessions are down, that means your team needs to be more efficient. And LSU last season was a big inefficient, very inefficient. You could talk about running the ball, but so much of LSU was third and long conversions. Garrett, go make a play for us. And as many of us know, on third down, Garrett is going to make, a big play 8 times out of 10. But the other 2 times, when you're asking him to do it over and over, it's going to turn into disasters. So, with possessions going down, the value of being on time, being on schedule, having a great plan is so important, especially next year, Blake, in a conference that is full of coaching wizards. So it's going to be big next year.
Listen, I know people want to point to this and that. Listen, fine. Every year people blast me on me being too negative. And more times than not, the reality starts setting in that what we said is going to probably come to bear. Okay? I thought you would be able to run the football a little bit better last year. I did.
Yeah.
You couldn't.
Yeah.
I thought that offensively that you were going to go after it in 12 personnel under center. Carter, I went out there and wasted my time.
Yeah.
You're running stuff that we never ran. I know we talked about this before, but I mean, what because the media is there, you're running something different. Then don't let us in there.
It was 12. It was high IQ stuff. If you're running stuff that the media can see, you can make
They ran hardly nothing that we saw in the first team periods.
So with Alex Atkins here, we got to be more counter.
Yeah, we haven't. So we hadn't talked about that. So I was going to get to that next.
Yeah.
So I agree with the national to end this kind of segment here. I agree that the pause button has got to get hit from this national media push. They're going to make the playoff. I think that the potential and ceiling is them to be there. I saw people this week and last week. We did a whole Rufino's rants on this and clipped a video. I know you were at the Super Bowl, so me and you didn't discuss this. People are saying the floor is 9 wins. No.
No.
That means if every bit of chaos that goes around you happens, your floor is 9? Are you like? Thank you for telling me that you don't know this team or football, because there is no way. No. If Garrett comes back into the season next year and turns the ball over like he did, you don't run the ball better, you're not going to be better than 9 wins. Sorry, you're not. The numbers just bear that out. You can't have that many turnovers and not be able to run the football and think that you're going to be better. It's not realistic.
Yeah, and I know out of us two, I'm the bigger Garrett defender, if you will. But you're right. You can't turn.
I hate the kid, but
no. Yeah, but
17 turnovers.
No. I know you don't, but it's just you just have to be more efficient. I spend. That's why.
Why? Can I ask you a question? Why is that a problem?
What, running the ball?
No. Why is it a problem that I say that you can't turn the ball over 17 times and like people go, he hates Garrett? Can you tell me why people think that?
I don't know. You tell me.
No, I'm seriously asking. It blows my mind. Nobody will have this conversation with my ass. Nobody.
No, I'm sitting here having with you. You can't turn the ball over, and a lot of it is it's just so much on his shoulder, right? I mean,
no doubt.
One thing I will say is I actually went back and rewatched that Ole Miss drive, and I'm like, holy crap! I mean, it's
the final one.
Yeah, I was like, that's just quarterback mastery, really. And hopefully you see more of that next year with Caden Durham and the whole shebang.
Yeah, it blows my mind.
Right, and to give you one NFL angle on it, it was weird because the run games decided the Super Bowl, right? The Kansas City shelled out to stop Saquon, and the Chiefs couldn't run on a defense playing straight quarters, which is crazy. And they ran the ball well.
They drafted the entire state of Georgia.
They did
at D-line. I mean, let's call it what it is. Okay, that's number one. But Carter, go bigger than that. I can give you the last 6 years of teams that can say the same thing in college football. The best team that can defend and the best rushing team won the what? Unless you have a Mahomes, you better do that. If you are not transcendent at quarterback, you better do that. You can get away with it with special dudes. Jaden Daniels and the Redskins or Commanders had no business being in the NFC Championship game. Zero.
No. That's why if I had an MVP vote, I would have given it to Jaden. If we're talking straight value, that Commanders team was bad. That was not a good roster that he dragged to the NFC Championship game. Now Terry McLaurin is a superstar, but
I agree.
Still, I mean that was ridiculous. He got that far.
All right, I want to get to this too with you because there were some coaching hires that were made, and we hadn't been able to talk about it. Let's go to Alex Atkins first. Yeah. Your thoughts on Alex Atkins and what he brings to LSU's run game?
Yeah, this is a guy well-versed in counter. I watched him do a full exhibit. You can actually pull this up on CoachTube if you want. And this guy loves that concept. Now, that doesn't mean he's like just married to it. But, Florida State is the counter team in college football. Everyone knows that that's what they're known for. And, LSU, as far as their counter success, is a mixed bag, to say the least. And ironically, the greatest LSU rushing performance in history was just counter versus Florida, Ty Davis-Price a few years ago. And if that offensive line could run it, you would hope this iteration of the LSU offensive line can run it. But then again, if you are the run game coordinator, it could just be a name, right? It could just be, hey, we're still going to do what Sloan and Kelly want to do. But I would think about becoming a counter team. The key is, Blake, as you mentioned, it's not just running the football better. It's who are you? What is your go-to run play? Obviously the 49ers, the best rushing scheme
and outside zone.
It's outside zone. So they get good at running outside zone. That's what they're known for, right? Not every running back is an outside zone running back. Mike Allstott's one of the best running backs I've ever seen, fullback, whatever. He's not an outside zone guy. So, you're going to have to, mix your personnel with what you have, right? But if you bring him in and that he has had success running the football at Florida State with Trey Benson and all the hosses that they have there, if this guy knows what a successful rushing attack looks like, and he suggests to Joe Sloan, hey, let's see if we could become a counter-based team. I would love to see it. And that was part of the problem, Blake, is last year you had Will Campbell saying, we're going to run the football and you can't do anything about it. And
they got punched in the mouth.
Right. And two things were happening. Number one, the guys weren't playing that well. And then number two, they lacked an identity. And then number three, on top of that, the play calling sequencing a lot of times just did not make sense. And it was very predictable. A lot of second down runs, a lot of hey, if Caden Durham's in a pistol, it's going to be outside zone, right or left. And those things all need to get cleaned up. So let Alex come in here if that's what he wants to do, and he thinks that our personnel can match with it. Let's see what he can do.
Need some athletic guards. I think that you do have athletic guards, but the problem is they're freshmen. Now you have Josh Thompson, so that will be interesting to see how good that he can come in here and perform. The problem with the counter and how teams had to try to defend Florida State is that if you over pursued at the end, at the rush or whoever you're identifying, sometimes they would run it and identify the D tackle, okay? They would stop and hold because Jordan Travis would pull it and run. Garrett ain't going to do that, okay? It is not going to happen.
Yeah.
The only way around that would be to sark it. What do I mean by that? You have a tight end or an H-back, and then you'll just go underneath. That's a lot of moving parts now. It's a lot of moving parts. You're going to have to run that and complete that before that gets fixed, or have somebody in the flat for him if he wants to throw it. You do that enough, you come down, you do that enough, well, it's going to really – they got stuff that they got to figure out there. To your point, I think the bigger point in this, you're going to find out really quickly who's calling plays in the run game, because either you're running counter and you're doing things and no, it's going to be Joe Sloan, baby. I mean, or – Alex has been who he's been. I mean, it's all that we know. They even tried to run counter last year without him. I think that's a little bit of a Mike Norvell thing. But, here's the thing, too. You're right on one massive thing. You do not have an identity in the running game. And that is a fact. Okay? Without a quarterback that can move, you do not have an identity. Carter, I'm telling you now. I'm telling you. More than Garrett. There's nothing Garrett. If Garrett stayed the same and nothing changed, which I don't think is going to happen, if you can't run the football, it's not going to matter what he does. Without a doubt. So that entire unit has got to be better.
Yeah.
The play calling's got to be better there too. Yeah. Do you worry about the tight end room from a receiving standpoint because the O-line coach is going to be in that room?
Yeah, I don't worry about, their ability to catch. It's just, what is it even going to look like? It's just going to be so drastic because Mason Taylor just never left the field. I mean, the whole Brian Kelly era, one guy has played this one position. I could say the same thing basically about left tackle and right tackle. But, Mason.
Also say that about safety.
Right. But it's, God, you've got to figure out who your guy or guys will be. And, I just like Donovan Green. I really did think he was fine at Texas A&M. Now, some Texas A&M fans, when he left, it was like, okay, no big loss. But, I think he's
zero production last year, literally.
Right. I guess I'm a little bit more optimistic about him. And then obviously Trades Green and Bauer Sharp in that room. And maybe JD LaFleur is that guy. Maybe he comes in and helps that room immediately. But I'm not so sure about that. So we'll see. But finding who your guys are there is going to be huge.
It's going to be paramount. Lance Guidry, a defensive assistant here. I played it on the show last week or 2 weeks ago that we clipped before coaching hires were ever made. I basically said who the tight ends coach is going to be and what I think they would do with assistants. Lance Guidry is coming in here to coach Harold Perkins. I'm fully convinced. I don't know that from a source standpoint. I think they're going to move Perk to star. I think they're bringing in a safeties coach to coach safeties. I think they're telling Jake Olson without telling Jake Olson, better fix it, bud. Blake, he better fix it. Lance Guidry has been a safeties coach for a long time. I think they're going to put him at star because he can be on the field coaching him at all times. I think Harold Perkins needs somebody to be one-on-one with him and unleash him in the role that he should be. I don't know what he's going to be from injury, but the reason I like this Lance Guidry thing more than anything, unless you do slide protections on your O-line, which most teams do not do these days. They don't slide like they used to. if you put Perk at star and he rushes the passer, he's going to be up against tight ends and running backs, and he's going to win that matchup. I think you need to move him there. He's better than he 1,000% is better than anything Major Burns has ever done in his career. It's an upgrade. The thing is that when you put him there, either you're going to run zone or he's going to come. Pause.
Yeah,
you're not going to play man-to-man with him, right? So, I mean, he's a man without a position. But I do. Right. You're paying this guy to be a safeties coach. Bob Diaco was not helping Blake Bakers with linebackers. He wasn't. I was there. He wasn't doing anything. It was Blake Baker's show. At safety, I think it's going to be the complete opposite. I think Lance is going to be in that room. I would not be surprised if you hear midway through the offseason here that he's kind of taking that room over. But when Lance Guidry coming in here, how do you feel about it?
Yeah, so the first thing, obviously, is this guy loves Louisiana. You know, he's coached. A lot of coaches won't admit this, but when you're from Louisiana, you're coaching the lower tier Louisiana schools, everybody wants to coach at LSU. So, you know, he's pretty pumped up, especially knowing how Miami fans kind of threw him under the bus after this 1 year. And I could understand Miami fans being frustrated. But,
we'd have to have a conversation if he's ever promoted to D.C.
Absolutely, because I can understand Miami fans hating his guts because
they also hated Blake Baker.
True, but Manny Diaz and Blake Baker, I mean, that was just ugh. But
so crazy. Manny's had 2 top 10 defenses though since he's left Miami.
Yeah, he's good. But anyway, look, I'm not even sure if any coach at this point can solve the safety room in its current iteration.
I agree.
And that's the tough thing, right? You have Jake Olson, who's a young coach. Obviously, Lane's coming in is going to help with that. And yeah, Blake, you know, it's weird. You know, going back to the playoff discussion, I actually went and looked up the PFF grades, and I looked at a few positions where, especially outside of quarterback, where a lot of the teams in the playoff were very strong, and safety was just constantly popping up. Just all those playoff teams had really, really, really good safety rooms, and obviously LSU had the worst in the SEC, and it's tough, you know, going from worst to first. It's something you can do in the portal era, but it's something.
But you still missed.
Yeah, and
unless DeMarcus Cooley comes in here and does something that we don't foresee yet, or some of these guys develop. I mean, but Carter, other than that, you're hopeful thinking here.
It's a problem. You know, I would have paid Michael Taff even Texas and said, "Come over, help us." I would have gotten just and I think he's good. I don't think he's great, but that's basically it. You know, I'm not looking for Jamal Adams, Caleb Downs. I'm looking for John Battles, guys that I just know I could trust to play the safety role. And the funny thing about it, Blake, is to me, it is a hard position to play, but I don't think it's one of the harder ones on defense. I would say corner and edge are probably the 2 toughest. That's why they get paid the most. But you just need reliable safety play, and right now I just don't think it's there for LSU.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. You know, camp opens up in less than a month, the 8th. So, I mean, I know you start off by saying Pate here, but he's right on one thing. There really is no offseason from football. Whether you like it, love it, or hate it, there is no offseason. We talk it all year. You do too.
Well, let me ask you a national question.
Okay.
About, canceling spring games.
I think Matt Rule is very soft. That's what I think.
But then Sark.
You want to know my God's honest opinion on that? You're gonna make me say it on live national YouTube?
Yeah, go on.
It's still soft, and it questions me you getting over the hump.
So
you have spent more. The reason Texas has been so good in football is now that they can go out in the open and spend the money that they had to hide that they could do. Let's call what the Colin Simmons thing's what it is. Let's call it what it is. I mean, I feel pretty damn confident about what happened. It's not that LSU didn't go down swinging, because they went down swinging. I know what happened. Texas came in there and said, no. Did the same thing with Cade Phillips.
yeah,
So you're doing that. I could understand the reasoning of what he's trying to say. But listen, don't get twisted that NIL has made Texas to be back. They've had two the last 2 years they've been in the Final Four. Like, what are you talking about? They're better than you? Like, you want to shit on Texas, they're better than you. It's soft. But we have got I'm going to be real with you. We've gotten soft. We've gotten soft. The game on the field, though, is going back to old school principles. I don't give two shits what anybody tells me. What do all 6 national champions have in common? And the teams that they beat, what was their biggest issues? Want to know all of them? One team could run the football and play good defensively. The other was ass cheeks. That's the truth.
we should go full old school. Leather helmets. Bring it back.
Carter,
Bring it all back.
name one.
No, I'm with you. I mean, look.
Carter, if I would have hold on 1 second. If I would have told you after the Joe Burrow season, before COVID even happened, that you would have a walk-on quarterback that would win 2 national titles, and a guy that got benched at Kansas State would go to Ohio State and win a national championship, what would you say?
No, I would be perplexed, shocked, hoodwinked, bamboozled, led astray, run amok.
Mac Jones won a national title in the last 6 years. Mac Jones. Who?
McCorkle. I still love that. Dude, that is the best name of all time. Why would you not stick with McCorkle? I freaking love me some McCorkle. But
you get my gist here, though. You get what I'm saying.
But my thing. So you think spring games should remain?
Are kids really hitting the spring portal like that?
No.
Then it's a non-issue.
Yeah, he's just trying to get out of it.
It's lazy.
Let Nebraska fans enjoy a game where they don't have to suffer. I mean, please.
Matt, hold on. During the season, Matt Rule literally came out and said that he was going to dispose of 50 players, and he's got to bring new personnel in here. And now you're mad that other teams are trying to come after you went after them? Ask Missouri if Matt Rule tampers.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
Williams-Nuwari says hello.
Look, give Nebraska fans something. I mean, they are the best fans of college football. They know they're never going to be back. Give them a spring game. Nebraska fans freaking love.
God, it's so soft. Listen, cancel it. Go ahead. Chicken out. So goddamn soft.
No, I read that. I was like, wait, why? I was like, just run 44 blasts every time if you're scared of people poaching your players.
Yeah, you're right. You know what? Don't throw one pass. And if you do, guess what? Run stick routes and fade routes the entire time.
Right. Yeah, just run 4 verts and slants and sticks. That's it.
Can I tell you the truth? I know an SEC defensive coordinator very well. You know that I know him because there have been times where we've talked about conversations that I've had with this DC.
Yeah. I know it is. Yeah.
I promise if I called him right now, and nobody would know who he is, but he has a unique voice, so you would know who it is. If I called him right now and I said, have you ever broken down spring game film of other teams? I guarantee you he would say no.
No. Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah.
Another thing. Ed Orgeron's son pointed to Ed Orgeron about the Ohio State spring game and the backup quarterback. These coaches don't give a shit about the spring game.
Nobody. And speaking of Coach O, I met the best Coach O impersonator on the planet at Super Bowl.
Frank Caliendo. You know what? We hadn't even got to this, and I got to get you out of here.
Not Frank Caliendo.
Who? Oh, Joey Molinaro.
Joey Molinaro. Elite. He is not a good human. He is an elite human.
You got 2 minutes, though. You got 2 minutes. I got to ask you this, though, because I got to get you out of here. No. Kellen Moore to the Saints. Your thoughts?
Oh, I'm excited. I like Kellen the person. I think he's a very affable guy. I think he'll be great in that locker room. I do NFL film breakdowns. I'm not smart enough to tell you whose offensive play calling I love the most outside of Andy Reid's. But Kellen Moore's fine. I think with where the Saints were in the process, I think he's going to be pretty excited to have his first opportunity here. But Blake, this is so important not only in college but in the NFL now. You've got to have a good front office now. I mean, with how sharp these guys are, I mean, look, the Eagles Super Bowl was won. Yes, and won a lot on the back of a trade with the Saints, right? So for those that don't know, the Eagles and the Saints traded picks a few years ago. Long story short, those picks got the Saints Chris Olave and Trevor Penning, and the Eagles got A.J. Brown, Jalen Carter, and Cooper DeJean, and more picks.
And people are literally on Twitter fighting me about Mickey Loomis.
Oh, yeah. Was he on a all-time heater? Yeah. I mean, he will go down. He had a
one draft heater.
He was mostly fine, around those times. But the 2017 Saints draft is arguably the best draft of all time. And they got sniped on Patrick Mahomes, which is crazier. But yeah, I mean, outside of that, it's been downhill, and it's so important in this day and age to have smart GMs out in college and in the NFL. So there's a lot of things Kellen Moore's got to overcome, and even if he sucks and it's clear that he's in over his head, Blake, you've got to give him at least 2 years because the team's not going to be that good next year, and you got to give him time to.
No, what do you do with Derek Carr? And look, I think the Saints media, all of them keep saying this. They're wrong. Last thing, and I'll get you out of here, I promise. This kick the salary cap can down the road is bullshit. It's complete bullshit.
Yeah, the Eagles spend the most.
Yeah, but they're also doing that complimentary based off of they're not that bad when it comes, like, if the Saints had the personnel that the Eagles had, it would justify what they're doing.
Oh, okay. I see the point you're making. Yeah.
Right? Like, you're doing that and you're getting your teeth kicked in. So then you're not in a favorable position to go get talent that you actually need.
All right. So one of my favorite mock drafters, Hayden Winks, had the Saints giving up a lot to trade up to number 1 to get Cam Ward.
Listen.
Would you be down?
Cam Ward is turnover prone. I think it is a risk. It is a risk. You got to go get a quarterback. This league, you got to go get a quarterback. But here's the thing. I mean, at least Jaden had Terry McLaurin, but he had a tomato can at the other wide receiver. You don't have a receiver unless Chris Olave stays healthy.
Yeah. Wait, hold on. I'm not going to let you leave talking down Rashid Shaheed like this.
I keep hearing hold on. I keep hearing Rashid. Carter, you do realize that he's borderline. He's got like 3 more games that he's played that he's been out from injury.
Oh, yeah, he's been hurt.
I mean, but you do realize that there's a 50-50 shot that he does not play historically in his career. I get the production, but is he going to play the entire season?
Yeah, and the same thing, like you just said about
Chris Olave.
Right.
I mean, I'm not being Carter, you do not have a number one wide receiver. You have an aging running back that you gave an extension to who, quite frankly, why?
I was fine with that. I honestly was fine with that. But I wouldn't do the Cam Moore thing. I do think he's the best quarterback in the draft.
If this were Jaden Daniels, I would trade the entire draft.
Oh my God. I would give the Saints my leg if they wanted it. Do you want to know what's interesting about?
They should have done it last year.
The most I've ever been trashed on Twitter over a take, and there have been aplenty, was when I said the Saints should have picked up the phone and called the Bengals and said, "We'll give you everything to trade up and get Joe Burrow," and people freaking destroyed me. I know that they're going to hang up the phone, but you got to ask. You just had the worst trade in NBA history just happen. These are not the smartest people running these organizations. You never know when someone could say, you know what? Fine, let's do it. Joe Burrow, let's get – you never know. So if I was a GM, I would offer trades, especially now.
Here's the thing that I think you could do. It's a little risk. But if you lose a second-round pick over it, you have two of them. You just got to hit on the one of them. You have the 40th pick and the 47th pick, I think, right?
Yeah.
Okay. You could go Jackson Dart.
Oh, no.
All right, I'm just going to tell you something. Here's some sourcing for your ass. All right, you're going to be sitting here around.
Be a second-round pick. I really do think it'll be a second-round pick. That's just not.
He'll give you more production in this offense than Derek Carr's bitch ass.
Oh, so you think Jackson Dart can play in the league
more than Derek Carr? Yes. In this offense, yes. Derek Carr is going to break a hip. He's going to break a hip.
Yeah, I don't see it with Jackson Dart as an NFL.
No, I don't either. But I said it's a risk. You're going to run out there with Spencer Rattler? Then what you going to do at quarterback?
So you're out on Spencer Rattler altogether.
I've been out. Everybody trying to juice him up during the offseason, you were idiots. I told you that you do not watch college football if you wanted Spencer Rattler's ass.
I think he's a good clipboard holder. I think he's a good backup. But
he will be a good backup. He's not a starter in this league, and y'all know it. Thank you for confirming you don't watch college football. Bro, I get out of here.
But I'm trying to think of the Saints. Man, I would call about Matthew Stafford, hell.
What about Jameis Winston?
Yes, I'd be down with that too. If you're going to go down swinging, go down fun. Hey, it'd be fun.
Very true.
All right, buddy.
The Power, 8:15, correct?
Yeah, man. And you're always welcome to jump on if you're bored later.
Okay. Let me see what my kids are doing, but we shall see. Carter, the Power, Bryant. Thank you, buddy. Always the best. That's why he's here every week. All right. We've been here an hour and 35 minutes. I think it's time for me to go to bed. Until tomorrow, we'll see y'all soon. Y'all have a good one. Peace.